Welcome everyone to the second Young Aussie Entrepreneurs podcast. I'm here with our guest, Lucas Cook. Welcome, Lucas.
Reese, thanks for having me on, mate.
No
How's
problem.
your day going?
Not too bad, yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. Sunny, cloudy day here in Melbourne.
That's always good. Now, Lucas, you've built up a pretty big empire for yourself. Did you want to just talk a little bit about what you do for everyone listening?
Yeah, of course. So, look, essentially, I'm 18 years old. I'm here in Melbourne. I didn't complete school. I left school at 16 years old. Now, the story behind that was I was currently freelancing / running my own social media digital company at the time. Now, what I do is I help local businesses and now national businesses grow their social media presence and their online presence, which translates to more online revenue and offline revenue for their business. So I've been doing that now full time for around a year and a half. Ty Lopez was the one that got me into that. I took one of his programs. I'm actually in his exclusive 300 group. There's only 30 people in that right now. So basically what that is it's a group of 6-7 figure earners that took his course, and from there he flew them out to Beverly Hills, and really from there, with all the networking and everything around that, it just took me to another level. And that's when I soon came to realize that you are the product of your environment. Now, when I was surrounded by these great people who are doing so much better than me, I felt like I was doing nothing. And I started to learn, their routines, the way they go about things, the way they run their business, their perspective. And then, one thing led to another, and I would say, we're gonna hit well above 7 figures this year in business alone. So the journey's been great so far, but only up from here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you've achieved a lot at such a young age. You talked about Ty Lopez and the power of networking. How important do you think someone like Ty as a mentor, and just mentors in general, how important they are?
I'd say mentors in general, you got to be careful on who you listen to, because if you listen to too many people, you are going to get misled, and not misled in the way of, wrong advice, but misled in the way of what advice do I take on board?
Yeah.
What I used to listen to a bunch of people, Gary Vee, Greg Cardone, Ed Marlette, all these gurus in the self-help space and motivational space. And, everyone's got their own different 2 cents, right? So, eventually you gotta come down to a point where you got to decide who you're going to listen to and who you're going to have as your mentor per se, whether that's an in-person mentor or an online mentor. Because in my opinion, if you're listening to everyone, you just don't have that congruency on sense of direction. One moment you're over here thinking this, the next moment you're over here thinking that. So it's important you can stay grounded in that area of having a mentor and picking who you are gonna, piggyback off.
Yeah, I think that's really important along the journey. Talking about along the journey, how have you gone? Because obviously business is never a straight road up. How have you gone with setbacks and failures along the way?
Setbacks and failures along the way. I've changed my perspective on setbacks and failures because, I've had so many of them, and if I looked at it as a setback and failure, it would honestly make me feel so shit. I wouldn't be where I am today. Otherwise, I look at them as learning experiences. So how can I take this lesson and apply it to my business or my personal life and actually turn it into a win? What do I need to make different from this experience that I did not win in? How can I take this as an experience and reverse it and, analyze that and make it a win? So, I'm not really fussed on setbacks and losses. I'm really fussed on how can I make that into a win, and what caused the loss in the first place? What was the root of it? That's what's really changed the game for me. I used to get really upset, when I lost and when I had setbacks, what have you, just like every entrepreneur. But, long term, if that's the way you look at it, you're going to be very disappointed. It's part of the journey. It's inevitable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's important. I don't listen to him too much, but I know Gary Vee talks about, the micro and the macro, thinking bigger picture, long term, and the short term failures and, well, not failures, but just learning curves are a part of the journey, and they're always going to be there. So I think that's important. Now,
Absolutely. Love Gary Vee.
yeah, definitely. You talked about before this podcast, we were talking about how you actually scaled your business so quick. What sort of methods for people just starting out in business could they use that you have done to get where you are today?
Look, something I learned from Mark Cuban, I think it was Mark Cuban. Um, if you're starting out in business, my advice would be get out of the fucking rut as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Get out of having zero revenue and start making revenue as soon as you can, because the sooner you can do that, the sooner you have a lot of stress off your back. So my suggestion would be go out there and spend your entire, if you're running a service-based business, spend your entire 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. when you're allowed to cold call to these businesses. Outside of those times,
Yeah.
I think it's 6 p.m. is illegal, believe it or not. So spend your whole business day doing revenue generating activities. Now, revenue generated activities, that is cold calling, that is prospecting in general. That's sending cold emails, that's going door to door. Now, the method that I used to scale my business so quick was exactly that. And I used the after hours and before hours to work on the clients. So, in terms of, scaling quickly, my suggestion would be spend the whole business day prospecting and spend the after hours when the business owners aren't awake, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
working on your clients. And that way, you're doing everything you can deep down to grow your business. Otherwise, someone else that's working, twice as hard, they're going to get your clients, because the beauty of social media marketing is most of the time that if you're there before anyone else and you show them the value before anyone else, chances are you're going to win their business, because social media is now, people want to get started now. They don't want to wait, because every minute, every moment, every day, these business owners wait, they are losing their customers to competitors.
Yeah, that's really important because I think you did tell me you were making well over 100 calls a day, which is pretty big numbers that you're putting up. Was that 9 to 6 period solely cold calling, or were you meeting up with clients as well?
So generally, I'd start out in the morning, smashing the phone from 9 a.m. to about 1 p.m.
Yep.
And if I had meetings from 1 p.m. to around 5, I'll take the meetings around then. So I'd be able to fit in about 8 meetings.
Okay.
But if I didn't have any meetings, I would keep calling at 1 p.m. through to 6 p.m. And I'd easily be able to smash out 200-300 calls. And no, it's not easy at all. It's very hard hearing 200 no's to get, 5 yeses or, 2 yeses. But through volume, you do find a few golden nuggets that actually do need your service. And sales is just a volume game. It's nothing to take personal. It's you almost have to remove your emotions, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not sure how much cold calling or approach that you've done, but there's an aspect of sales where you just got to say to yourself, I'm making 200 calls, and it's almost like you're not becoming robotic, but you're removing your emotions. This is what I'm going to do. This is my goal. I'm going to get this many appointments, and out of this many appointments, I'm going to get this much business out of it. And you're not going to let your feelings or emotions get in the way when someone says no, or, maybe even abuses you. So it's always about every call knowing that you're getting closer to a yes, and then eventually, step by step, you do grow your business. And theoretically, when you do start your business, it's step by step that you do get ahead. If you try to get ahead too quickly, there's a saying, you try to jump too many steps at once, you fall over. So my suggestion would be step by step, you get ahead, learn as you go, and really just keep pushing and reiterate what you're doing. Reinvent it, review and assess.
Yeah, that's really key. In terms of learning sales and now what you do with your company, how important was self-education at the start? Did you jump into sales, or was that something you spent time studying and learning?
For me, studying, it's crucial, but what I find more crucial is execution.
Yeah.
So I could spend 12 months going through a Grant Cardone University program or a Jordan Belfort Straight Line of Persuasion program.
Yeah.
These are some of the sales programs that I took. But I took the programs, and at the same time I was executing alongside. So, you know, learning, it's definitely helpful because, you know, if you can get on someone else with 30 years of sales experience and have them as a mentor that pushes you to where you need to be, you know, you're going to get there a lot more faster. So my suggestion would be definitely join a program. There's a sales program. There's a program out now that's going for $99 per month. It's Grant Cardone Sales University.
Yeah.
Now that is going to change your perspective and the way you do sales. You will be able to start selling. There's a system around sales. You know, you have to engineer the process. There's a cycle, and you know, we need a mentor for these types of things, because when you are selling, you can't just go in there with your eyes closed. You need to know what questions are going to be asked. You need to know what's going to lead to the sale. You need to know at what stage you're going to ask certain questions. And you really need to know, you know, how to build certainty. You need to know how to build demand. You need to know how to, you know, all these different areas of sales. You need to know that. And without having a mentor, you know, you're going to have to spend a lot more time on your own to figure that out. You know, or you can just spend a little bit of money and learn that quickly and start executing and, you know, learning all of that. But my biggest tip on that would be, go out there and execute the strategies, because theory and learning this stuff, it's great, but you get so much more insight if you're in the battlefield, going hard, going all in, all day, every day. You'll be surprised at how much you can pick up if you go all in and have a wholehearted commitment. It's not about half-assing the sales effort. It's about going all in and prospecting. You know, for example, you know, Francesco, did you have an interview with him?
Yeah,
Podcast with him?
Yeah, first podcast.
Yeah, great. I saw that. So now, Francesco, for example, you know, this is how I generally do my sales day in and day out. I jump on the phone, and while I'm waiting for the phone to ring, you know, I'll do LinkedIn on the side. So I'm sending out a few hundred LinkedIn messages per day while I'm doing cold calls as well, back in the day. So Francesco was actually someone that I met up with. And if you go through my LinkedIn messages over a year, I had restaurants as one of my niches. I've messaged about, I think, 95% of all restaurant owners in Australia.
Wow.
So I've actually run out of people to message. So I've had to go through to different industries now, because I've hammered LinkedIn and I've hammered the phone that much. Now, Francesco, the person that you interviewed, that's someone that I was able to get in touch with. Unfortunately, wasn't able to do business with at the time, but it's amazing how much of a small world it is when you do sales at scale, because you reach everyone and everyone starts to interconnect and remember each other. And then for all you know, eventually, you know, you add value to one person over here, and then they start speaking about you over here, and eventually start to do business with everyone. And that's when everything starts snowballing, when you start adding value through these calls and through these LinkedIn messages. And that's when you get recognized.
Yeah, I really like that point. Talking about investing in programs, because I'm currently on Cardone U, and it's great. Just once you make a call, something goes wrong, you go back into the video library, learn what you did. But in terms of investing money into programs, I tend to think of money as a tool. I guess there's a lot of, you know, conflict about greed and money and stuff. What do you think of money, how it can help businesses? Because a lot of people tend to not like the thought of money.
A lot of people do think money is evil. And to be honest, you know, without money, you can't really do anything, right? So first of all, as a business, it's essential, right? If you don't have any money, if you don't have any sales, you're not going to be in business for long. So first of all, it's essential. You know, money, sorry, what was the question again?
So what's your view on money in being a tool for businesses?
Absolutely. So look, money as a tool for businesses, you need money to scale. You need human capital. You need human resources. So it's vital to have money come in, because if you don't have money coming in, you won't be able to hire. If you don't have money coming in, you won't be able to hire, you know, resources that do help you deliver on your clients' needs. So money is a tool for businesses. Try to get as much as you can as soon as you can, because the sooner you can do that, the higher of chance, the higher probability that you will get ahead. So, my tip of the day is get the money first. That should be your number one priority.
Yeah.
And of course, service your clients along the way. Make sure that they are actually getting a good deliverable, getting a great result, because word of mouth for a service business, especially, that's the key of the game. Because one person knows so many people. You would be surprised. Once you start adding up all these word of mouths, before you know it, you're getting just as much warm referrals than you can really ever imagine. So money is the key to grow your business to start with, but eventually you do reach a point where, okay, now for me, it's about how much revenue do I want to get to, and how many clients do I want to get to before, I guess you could say, before I'm taking on too much work that's unmanageable and more stress than good. So there does reach a point in my business, especially, where I have to think to myself, I don't want to take on that many more clients, because theoretically, I'm not going to enjoy the business if I do that.
Yeah.
It's sort of defeating what I got into the business for. Now, there's a few reasons why I got into the business, and my belief is that there's a lot of digital marketing agencies out there that are unethical and do, take clients' money and don't deliver results, and do lock in clients in contract and all these different sort of things. But there comes a time where you've got to think about, what is that goal of revenue that I do want to reach, and have an expectation of the workload, right? Because you'll be surprised at how stress you start bringing people on board, and you start having more and more clients. So get the money to begin with, and then just focus on that, and the rest will fall into place.
So at what point for you did you start using money as a tool to outsource the work or delegate tasks to employees, and when did you start expanding?
Yeah, of course. So for me, when I started expanding was when, as I said earlier, I could no longer do that 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. cold calling. I could no longer do that, 6 p.m. to 12 a.m., work on clients. I could have done more work, but I would have been burnt out. That's the least to say. I already was burnt out. So for me, it was like, okay, I literally have no more time left. So for me, you have to have some self-awareness, and you got to recognize in a way that, okay, I'm taking on too much and I need to delegate. Because you have to come to a point, especially in a service business, that you have to become an actual business owner, not a glorified contractor. So being an actual business owner means that you're working on the business instead of in it. So yes, you have to work in the business to begin with, but eventually you have to make a decision based on how much time you have available and how much client work you are taking on, or work you are taking on, that, hey, I'm actually going to switch from working in the business to on the business. I'm going to go out there, search on Seek, Indeed, Upwork, all these freelance, all these great platforms that you can find people to help you out. And now I'm going to delegate work to people to work in the business while I can focus on the business. So it's about, finding out, looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, I don't have much time left during the day. I have this work over here that needs to be done. I have this over here that needs to be done. I truly don't have the time. Now I can do it, but at the same time, that means the business won't grow because I'll be a glorified contractor. So it's really about what you want at the end of the day. But to me, delegation is the best resource that you can have as a business owner, and leveraging human resources, human capital, is the key to business.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned time, and I think time is just, it's a finite resource for everyone. So it's definitely important. You mentioned that it gets to a point in your business where getting more and more clients is something that you just don't want to do. Do you have plans to move into other businesses as well, or just keep working on your current one? I
do have plans to move into different businesses. especially digital marketing, it's something that it is going to be around for a while, but I don't think it'll be around for, 10 years beyond where we are now. There's going to be VR and all sorts of different things. So, the agency might change it in a few different ways, but in terms of switching ventures, I like to keep life simple. I've tried, so many different things. I've suffered from shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
And what I've found is, if I'm splitting my energy across 8 different businesses, 4 different businesses, 4 different ideas, I got 100% energy during a day, right? And if I'm splitting 25, 25, 25, 25 over here and here and here, you come to think to yourself, okay, I'm not truly committed to anything and I'm not truly growing anything. And it comes from a place of also uncertainty. Because if you were confident in one product and one service and one business that you are selling, you would go all in on that because you know it will work.
Yeah.
So I've sort of come to the decision that I'm going to stop everything else that I'm doing but CoMedia, and I'm going to go all in on CoMedia, and I'm going to grow that business. And in terms of other ventures in the future, I'm not too sure what that could look like, but for now I'm just focused on this and growing in Australia. And then, once I reach a threshold in Australia, which, I'm not sure what that would look like, USA and, these different countries like Singapore, Malaysia, they definitely are appealing to me as well.
How does that go for you, getting work obviously internationally as well as interstate, for acquiring new clients and accepting, checks from people who aren't in your local area? How does that work for you in building that trust and rapport with other people?
Of course. So for me, it comes down to showing people the results, showing people the numbers. Now, if you have someone in a different country that you want to work with or are planning on working with, what I use is Zoom. We're on a Zoom call right now. I use Zoom. We jump on a video call and we really nut everything out. And, it's about building rapport and trust. And it's about building a genuine relationship, right?
Right.
A lot of business owners, it's overlooked. Stop trying to ram your shit down people's throat. Start building relationships and start building trust and building value. For me, it's about letting people know, you can do this on your own. You can do this on your own. You absolutely can. You can spend 12 months learning the ins and outs of Facebook ads. You can spend 12 months, 24 months learning this and that. Or, you can focus on working on the business as you already are, and you can leverage us and we can actually do it for you, just as we have for the other 20 competitors that you do have. So it's about, building value and logical reasons on why, they should work with you if you are overseas. It might come down to cost. It might come down to, your way of standing out as an agency, the way, you work with them, the customer service, the results you've got. In terms of receiving payment from clients, I've never really had trouble with that if someone's in USA or a different country, because what I do use is Stripe. Now, Stripe is super convenient, super easy to use. You can plug in an Amex card, a Visa or MasterCard from a client if they're in USA or some other country in the world. It accepts cards from hundreds of countries, every country basically. So in terms of receiving payment, that's fine, no cost, just Visa or MasterCard essentially. And you can work with anyone around the world, given that you have an internet connection, laptop, and phone, assumingly.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the way we live today. So for you, 12, 24, 36 months from now, what sort of an impact do you want to have on your industry?
Oh, well, for me, it's my obligation to get every local national business that are using these traditional advertising platforms onto digital and social media. And the reason why it's my obligation is because these businesses that do not recognize the power of social media and digital marketing, every year, most of them at least, I've seen the statistics, their business annually is decreasing. And the reason why is because they're spending so much on radio and all these platforms, billboards, that, okay, they're not getting the attention that they once did. And this is really bad for business owners that are old. This is really bad for businesses that don't recognize the power of social media. So for me, it's about, 12, 24, 36 months from now, it's about The same mission, getting everyone on social media and getting everyone on digital marketing so they can really reach their customer for a low cost. Because, you know, if they keep continuing on the way they are, more and more businesses will go out of business. You know, all these businesses like Toys R Us and Blockbusters, although it wasn't to do with marketing as such, you know, they failed to adapt technology wise. Now, same goes for businesses when it comes to marketing. The businesses that fail to adapt with digital marketing and social media, the truth is they're going to fall out of business sooner or later. They are going to go out of business sooner or later because they will fall short to someone that is doing it. So for me, there is no real sort of goal in that sense. It's just my obligation every day with the resources I have to reach as many businesses in Australia to let them know, you know, the value of social media. And that's why I'm holding things like, you know, these, not sure if you saw earlier, the workshops, the seminar I'm hosting at Melbourne Convention Centre very soon next month, about why social media is a must for business owners. So, you know, it is a great way to get leads, don't get me wrong, but it's also a great way to inform the community on, you know, why social media really is a must. Because, you know, if you're using these traditional platforms, really, you're just, quite frankly, putting your money in a furnace. It's not really working anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think your impact, like, you know, what you want to have an impact on is important for anyone starting in business. That message you just gave. Now, you did mention all of the speaking events you've done. How do you think that's impacted your business as well as, you know, yourself and your reputation within the business community?
It's funny. I was speaking to my vice president of sales, Patrick, and a few other people in the business that are doing the cold calls and outreach, inbound stuff. Now, I learned a great I learned a great perspective, I guess you could say. I experienced a great perspective when I did my first speaking event, which was not too long ago. It was last month, or my first real one last month. It was a real workshop. So now, what I've experienced is that there's a big difference between you going to them and them coming to you, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I found is when I did a speaking event, when I did a workshop per se, and I was giving for free, I like to use Gary Vee's analogy: give, take. Now, for me, it's literally give, and you know, they feel obligated to give you something in exchange because you're giving them something.
Right.
So, in terms of you know, sales and inbound stuff, this in-person speaking events, they changed the game for us in the sense that now every 15 people in the event, we know we're going to get 3 meetings out of it that are, you know, highly hot. The reason they're there is because they want to learn why social media is a must for their business.
Right.
You know, they're very hot leads. Instead of calling 100 people and busting your balls, and you going to them and not begging for their business, but essentially, you know, you're going out there cold to make your friends with a stranger. It's a lot more easy to get leads that are warm and in person, and you're on stage and you're giving value for free. Maybe not for free, maybe for $20 a ticket, but it's very similar. And then them coming to you and making a line to ask questions at the end of the seminar, it's game changing for any business, and I highly suggest it because, you know, that sense of difference, it's so small, you coming to them and them coming to you, but it's so big in the perspective of sales because you're no longer selling them, they're selling themselves on you.
Yeah. So, I mean, lastly, you started CoMedia at 16, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, for the younger demographic in YAA, how did you go with having not spent any money with actual businesses to then getting these new clients on when you were first starting out?
Yeah, so I was in a pretty unique situation. Back in my day, I had a clothing brand.
Okay.
So it was a clothing brand called Street Falls, if anyone knows that. It was stocked in a few stores.
Yeah.
Well, long story short, I did have experience in Facebook ads, you know, because I had to grow my clothing brand one way or another. Okay. So when I ran my clothing brand, I used to run Facebook ads. I used to work with influencers, you know, Joel Fletcher, Alex Hayes, all these surf skate people in Melbourne, DJs.
Right.
You know, they were wearing our clothing and they were promoting it through social media, et cetera, et cetera. But In terms of learning, it, Facebook Blueprint, I started there, but really it just came down to executing. It's going to cost some money, you know, for you as well with drop shipping and e-commerce, what you're doing. You would agree with this 100%. It takes money to sort of not make money, but it takes money to learn, you know, because you got to spend and experience it yourself. You got to get in the playing field and actually feel it happen, because then you also build belief when you see it with your own eyes. And that's when you build certainty. And when certainty happens in business, that's when you start to make big leaps of faith and you start to trust your intuition more. So it comes down to getting in the playing field and learning, you know, Facebook ads and learning everything. And eventually you start to get more confident with yourself in terms of, you know, whatever it is you're pursuing. There's only so far theory can take you, essentially. But if you're a young bloke, there's no better time to go out there and do something in today's world. If you're 16, 17, 18, and you're living at home, what have you got to lose?
Yeah, exactly right.
You don't have anything to lose, and that's the best thing. If you're 28 and you got a kid or two kids on the way, you know, you're a lot more risk averse. And I don't blame you, because you know, you got to take care of the people around you. You have no one to take care of you around you, assumingly. So you know, go out there, take a risk or two. I've taken many risks, and I've also failed many things, but it's about going out there and taking a risk, because if you don't do that, you're going to live a life that you wondered what could have been.
That's a really powerful message to leave, you know, the end of the podcast. For everyone listening, where can they find you personally? For you, you mentioned you've got a few events coming up. Where can people catch you? I know you're in the group as well.
Yeah, for sure. Look, you can message me on Facebook, Lucas Cook. You can also find me on Instagram, LUCASCOOK. Happy to answer any questions. Happy to help out if you need help with anything. In terms of where you can find me for a next event, I'm going to have that posted on my Instagram page soon on a story. I'm going to start getting more active on there. Past 9 months, 12 months, I haven't been really active on my social medias, because I recognized, okay, I actually got to build something. I got to build something worthwhile. So, you know, social media was a distraction for me, but you can find me on there. I'm going to start being more active. Love to interact with you all. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to message me and I'll be happy to help.
Perfect. Well, it's been great talking with you, Lucas. Learned a lot of gold nuggets that I'm going to take away for myself. So thank you so much for being on. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for having me, Reese.
No problem.